So I'm Patrick Paumen. I'm from Heerlen, and I'm the founder of a hackerspace, Hackspace, and I'm 33 years old. I work as a system administrator, but also as a security guard. And so a little bit about history of biohacking. Professor Kevin Warwick, he was the first who implanted an RFID tag in 1998. And in 2005, Amal Graafstra from the company Dangerous Things, he was the first double implantee of RFID tags. But transhumanism, there are multiple aspects of transhumanism, of biohacking. Biohacking is not just implants, it's also DNA, RNA hacking, or nootropics, where you take extra vitamins, or change your diet, or change your sleep pattern. But I mostly focus on implants. And there are some disadvantages of mechanical keys and locks. This is the oldest known key and lock. It's from ancient Egypt, a couple thousand years old. And the disadvantage of keys is, you can forget your keys and you can lose your keys. And this photo was taken at Hackers at Hacking at Random 2009. It's a Dutch police officer, and he was wearing his handcuff key visible. And this photo was taken from a distance. And based on the photo, the guy made a 3D model of the handcuff key and 3D printed it at the conference. And he managed to unlock the handcuff keys. So you always need to be careful that you don't take photos of your keys and share them online. It's a bad idea. Biometric locks are also a bad idea because everything we touch, we leave our fingerprints. And when your fingerprints are compromised, you can't change them as easily as a password or an RFID tag implant. The same problem with iris, with your eyes. Someone takes a high resolution photo, and so this is an overview of non-medical implants. I have the neodymium magnet implants in the fingertips, and I have RFID tag implants. There are also other implants. I'll talk more about them. So the magnet implants, this is the first implant that I have. I inserted it in July 2011. I'll show it on the camera later. So, it's nice. You can pick up objects like bottle caps or nails or screws or paper clips. It's nice for party tricks. But the main reason for these magnet implants is the fingertips are rich with nerve endings. So if there's a magnet in the fingertip and the magnet is near a magnetic or electromagnetic field, then the magnet reacts to those fields and it sets off the nerves. When it's near a magnetic field, the magnet moves. And when it's near an electromagnetic field, then the magnet oscillates and it feels like a tingling in the fingertip. Yeah, you can see a photo, me lifting objects, and an X-ray photo of my fingertip. So yeah, these fields are invisible, but they exist, and this is how I can detect them from a short distance. It's now, for example, microwaves or anti-theft gates at the post office in my city. It's also useful. For example, I have a desk lamp at home. It's a halogen lamp, and at some point the lamp wouldn't light anymore. So I had to figure out whether it's just the light bulb I had to replace or the entire lamp, whether the electronics was defective. I switched on the light and nothing happened, of course. But when I moved my fingers with the magnet implants near the base of the lamp where the electronics are, I could feel the tingling in the fingertip. So I knew I just had to replace the light bulb. This is Rich Lee, and he also has these magnet implants. He has them in the tragus. It's the piece in front of the ear. And when he wears a coil, a copper coil around his neck, and the coil is attached to an amplifier, and the amplifier is connected to an audio source, like an MP3 player or a smartphone. When he plays music on his smartphone, the music goes to the amplifier, goes to the copper coil. And this is basically how headphones work. And this way he can listen to audio just with this magnet implant. This is an implant worn by Tim Cannon. He doesn't have it anymore. It was experimental. This implant has a battery and a coil to charge the battery, and it has some sensors, for example, to measure the body temperature or heart rate. And it has Bluetooth, and it would transmit the data over Bluetooth to a smartphone. After 3 months, it wouldn't charge. The battery wouldn't charge anymore. So they took the implant out of his arm, and they noticed that the battery was bulging. So they took it out on time. It didn't explode or leak. This is Rob Spence. He's a filmmaker, and he has only one eye due to an accident when he was 9 years old. So the prosthetic eye, he has multiple prosthetic eyes, but one is with an LED on the left, and on the right you see a prosthetic eye with a wireless video camera. So he used it in a filmmaking project, walking around, just videotaping what the eye would see, and also you can see when the eye is blinking. And this is Neil Harbison, and Neil is colorblind, and he has an implant in his skull, and it looks like an antenna hanging in front. It has a camera lens, so when he holds an object in front of the lens, then the object, of course, can see the color, and the implant transforms the color frequency to an audio frequency. So this way he can hear what color an object has. And he managed to get his passport photo approved by the government where the implant is visible. So this way he's the first government recognized cyborg. This is an implant created by Cyberize.me by Alex Smith. Basically it has tritium, so it glows in the dark. Gives off very little radiation. This is by Cyborg Nest. In my opinion, it's not really an implant, but it attaches to bar piercings, usually worn on the chest. So when you turn to north, then the implant, then this device vibrates, so you know which direction is north. This is another implant created by Grindr Sweatwear, and it's basically a PCB with I believe a Hall effect sensor, which is triggered when there's a strong magnet nearby, and it lights up 5 red LEDs for 10 seconds, and then it powers off again. And it also contains a battery, just to mimic bioluminescence like some animals have in the deep sea. I'm also considering this one, or maybe one that doesn't require a battery. For example, to light up the tattoo on my arm, then the eye would light up. This is the seismic sense. It's an implant worn by Moon Ribas. This is Neil Harbison's girlfriend, and with this implant she can sense when there's an earthquake anywhere on the planet. When it's above 1 on the scale of Richter. And these are the RFID tag implants. Currently I have 9 RFID tag implants. And yeah, these are developed by Dangerous Things. So the company Dangerous Things, they develop and create these implants, so people don't have to experiment with this themselves. So they don't have to take out a transponder from a car key and add coding and attempt to do this themselves. So Amal Grafstra decided to create this company to manufacture these implants and make sure that these are safe to implant in the body. This is the XBT tag implant. It's basically a PAT ID tag, and I've got one here in my lower arm. And each RFID tag implant has a unique ID number, and it's basically a PAT ID tag. So when you find an animal, then you actually have to scan the tag from a short distance. You can't track animals from a large distance. And what's nice about this tag is that it also has a temperature sensor. So when it reads the tag, then it will not only show the unique ID number but also show the temperature. And it's in my lower arm, and in the lower arm, of course, it's colder than in the core of the body. So a better position for this implant would be in the skin beneath the armpit. And this is the XEM tag, and it's a low frequency tag implant. It's the same as RFID access card or key fob, but it's under the skin, so I don't have to worry about forgetting or losing the RFID cards, access cards. I have 2 of these. I use one to unlock the car doors, and the other I use to unlock the electronic doors at one of the office buildings where I work as a security guard. And also I use this one also to open the road barrier. And of course, before you get an implant, you have to decide which implant you're getting and also decide where you're putting it in the body, which is why I put it in here. So I just have to roll down the window and stick my arm outside the window and unlock open the road barrier to gain access to the parking lot. This is the XIC tag implant. I do have one in my backpack. I don't have it implanted yet because I don't have a purpose for it yet. There's a high frequency tag. It's the same frequency as NFC, near field communication. And this is a MyFair Classic tag. So there are 2 types of this implant. Just the basic MyFair Classic tag with a unique ID number. I just noticed a typo. It's a 4-byte UID number. And this XM1 Plus tag implant, it's a newer version where it lets you change, it lets you to program all the sectors and blocks of the tag. So you can even change the unique ID number of the tag, which is useful if you want to actually clone a tag, clone an access card you can clone it to this implant. So, for example, at the building where my hackerspace is, they use MyFair Classic to gain access to the building and the parking lot. And I asked them if they could add one of my existing implants to their access control system, and they didn't manage to do that. So I decided to clone the access card that I already had and clone it to the tag implant. Now we can unlock the doors. I'll show a video later. This is the XNT. This is the first RFID NFC tag implant that I have since 2014. It's from an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. And yeah, this is an NFC tag. So, for example, I use it to unlock my smartphone. I use it to log into my laptop. If I lock my laptop now, it's asking for a password, but I'm not going to type my password because anyone can look over my shoulder and see what password I'm entering. So I made this device. It's basically an Arduino Leonardo Pro Micro and NFC module. And when I scan my implant, then it will unlock my laptop without having to worry about shoulder surfing. And yeah, they also have limited data storage, like 880 byte of data storage. So I also put my contact details on it. Some people put their wedding vows or medical data. Everyone can decide for themselves what data they put on their implants. Also some other small projects I did with these. For example, an IKEA table, and I mounted an Arduino and an NFC module, and an LED strip. So when I scan my tag, then it lights up the LED strip. And since each tag has a unique ID number, I can program the Arduino. If I scan this tag, then it will just color green, or if I scan the other tag, then it will color a rainbow animation pattern. And yeah, this could also be used for cars in the future. So if you share your car with family members, or with if it's a company car with colleagues, maybe you could use an RFID tag, whether it's an implant or access card. You could use it to personalize the car, so you don't have to change the seat position and the mirrors every time. That's an idea. And this is the Flex NT tag. It contains the same tag as on the previous slide, the XNT, except the coil is flat and rectangular instead of a cylindrical shaped coil. So this has a better reading distance. Sometimes when you have a smartphone with NFC, sometimes you have to find the sweet spot when you want to scan a tag. And yeah, this is an improvement. This is a Flex DF. It's MyFair Desfire. I don't have this one yet. Yeah, it's a MyFair Desfire, so more storage, 8 kilobyte. This VivoKey implant, it's still in development, and I have a prototype in my arm. And this prototype, it's bigger than what the final product will be. So it contains an NXP Smart MX chip. It's basically a smart card, but worn under the skin. And I use this to generate OTP codes and use it for PGP. I'll demonstrate it on the video later, on the camera. So there have been some safety tests done on RFID tag because people are always worried, is the implant gonna break, or what if you need to go in an MRI machine, will it explode or something? But yeah, they've been tested thoroughly by the manufacturer of the implants, and you can see also the results on the website. So some methods of implanting these RFID tags or other implants. You can order a kit online from dangerousthings.com, and it comes in a package, and in the kit there's the injection syringe with the RFID tag preloaded in the syringe in a sterile package, and there's also a pair of gloves and chlorhexidine to scrub the skin to clean it. Also a sterile drape, so you can take this kit to a piercing studio and get it implanted there. And the first one I did completely by myself. I don't recommend doing this, but how I did this, usually you need 2 hands to perform this, but you need 1 hand to lift the skin and the second hand to insert the injection syringe. I used a clothes peg to keep the skin lifted. Improvising. And larger implants, for example, this Flex NT and the VivoKey implant and the magnet implants, that requires surgery. So it requires a scalpel and stitches. And the implants, for example, the neodymium magnet implants, you can't put a raw magnet under the skin because it's toxic and the body will reject it. So these implants, they have a coating. The glass RFID tag implants, they have a coating of bio-short glass, same as PET ID tags. The newer type implants like the Flex NT and VivoKey, they have a coating of Parylene C. It's silicon. The magnet implants, they have a coating of titanium nitride. And the advantage of this titanium nitride is that it has a very thin coating, so you don't lose the strength of the magnet. And some biohackers also experiment with hot glue or sugrue as coating to make implants bioproof. For this first magnet I inserted myself, I used sugrue. And I don't know if all of you know what it is, but you can order it online, and you take it out of the package and you can mold this for half an hour, and after 24 hours it's completely solid. It's sort of a silicone rubber, and it also happens to be bioproof. So yeah. And there are some hardware limitations to RFID tags. What I mentioned about the coil, the hardware limitation is that you have to get very close to the tag to be able to read it, which is also an advantage because you can't steal my UID number or contact data from a large distance. You have to get very close to the skin. Also, these are passive devices, so I don't have to replace these implants. They can just remain in my body forever. I intend to live forever, and so far, so good. And so, yeah, common questions. What about airport security? What if I have to fly? Well, last week I was in China, in Beijing, and I didn't have any problems getting on the airplane. I always have to take off my shoes and belt, but I don't have any problems. The metal detectors, they don't detect implants. And in China, on an electronic market, I actually bought a metal detector. And yeah, of course, it triggers when it scans my glasses. But the implants, it doesn't detect anything. At this moment, I have 14 implants, 5 magnet implants and 9 RFID tag implants, and it doesn't trigger metal detector, it doesn't trigger the full body scanner. So I'm happy. Another common question, what about laws? Yeah, we have bodily integrity, and basically, yeah, the government or companies can't force us to get an implant. It's important that this will always remain optional, that we can always decide for ourselves whether we want an implant or not. And what about payments? Can I use my implants for payments? Not at the supermarket, but for example at the hackerspace, I can use an implant to pay for drinks or snacks. Some people they have bitcoins and they store their Bitcoin wallet on an implant. And privacy concerns, yeah, I already mentioned that it's yeah, you have to get very close to the skin to read the tag, and also an advantage of these RFID tag implants is that I can easily reprogram them. I don't have to take them out of my body to reprogram the tag implants. So I decide which data I store on the implants, and some implants I can also change the UID number. So that's good. So that's what my these were the slides so far. And now I'll switch to the camera and give some demonstrations. So just once again, the RFID, the pet ID tag. You can see the UID number. And another funny story. So I went to an animal clinic, and I called them beforehand and asked them if they have a pet ID tag reader, and yeah, they said yeah. And when I arrived there, they looked at me funny because I didn't have any pets with me, and I asked them to scan my tag, and yeah, that worked.
Did they charge you an office visit?
No, they didn't charge me. And yeah, this pet ID tag. So. No, I just came by car. And, you can see the UID number. I also registered myself at a pet animal database. So
Is it a dog or a cat?
Neither. When you look up the number, it will say animal name Patrick and animal type. I had to select from a list of animals, so I selected Primate. And as a breed race, I selected. There was an edit box. I filled in cyborg. Yeah. Some other demonstrations. Yeah, the RFID NFC tags. I use them to, for example, to unlock my smartphone. Instead of entering a code, because anyone can look over my shoulder, and also instead of fingerprints, because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. So I just scan an implant, and it will unlock my phone. And I also stored my contact details on it, so if you scan my tag, then you got my contact details. Name, email address, website. And this is an electronic door lock. It's from China, and from the inside you can always lock and unlock the door. And from the outside, you have this RFID NFC coil, and it doesn't matter to the reader what type of tag it scans, whether it's an access card or a key fob or in my case an implant. And then I can lock and unlock the door. What else can I demonstrate? Yeah, some people are also worried about privacy, and yeah, they always complain. Yeah, you can, in theory, you can just clone your tags. And so in China, I bought this. It's an NFC jammer. So RFID high frequency, it's a jammer, and so I can wear a glove and insert this jammer, so you can no longer read the tags. So when I put this NFC jammer here, then nothing will happen. You can't unlock or scan the tag. And the jammer also has a coil, so when it's near an RFID reader, it will blink to indicate that there's a device, an RFID reader, scanning for a tag. Such a device is also sold by Dangerous Things. I think I have one in my pocket. Yeah. It's basically a PCB with two coils, one coil for low frequency and one coil for high frequency. And this is a RFID diagnostic tool. So for the high frequency, it will also blink red. And for the low frequency, it will blink green, just to detect what frequency an RFID reader uses. So for physical pen testing, this could be useful. I usually approach RFID coil access RFID reader, and when it reacts to my implants, then I also know which frequency or which protocol it uses. And this device, it's an emulator, RFID low frequency emulator. So you have this keypad, and I can just type in a UID number, for example, 01, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, E, F. And when I run the emulator, I also brought a cloning device, RFID cloner. So I just read the tag, and when I write it, yeah, short reading distance. It worked before. So I programmed this tag and changed the UID number to 01 dad beef. And I also have a low frequency RFID tag here, and here between the thumb and index finger. And so this is the current UID number. I use this tag to unlock the car doors. And when I get home, I just use the emulator to generate another UID number and remove the entry from the RFID access controller in my car and add the new number. And that's very practical. I don't have to replace the implants. And to clone the MyFair Classic access card, I use this Proxmark. I don't know how we are on time. If there are any questions.
So the only question that's not allowed is why?
Why not? It's my body, and I decide what implants I put in my body or not. And the magnet implants, yeah, just they're very practical because I can lift an object like a bottle cap. You've probably seen me do this last night at a party. So it's nice for party tricks, but the main purpose is to detect magnetic and electromagnetic fields from a short distance. And you can see when this flashlight, there's a strong magnet in here, in this flashlight. You can see when the magnet is moving in my finger. And the magnet moves the skin in the fingertip, and yeah, that's what I feel.
Magnet further down in your finger?
No, it just remains in the place, just like the other implants. It just remains where it's implanted. It doesn't migrate all over the body. So,
I also have a question. Like, if you're controlling your computer or your phone, don't you get like constant tingling in your fingertips?
no, not constant. No. Yeah, there are some areas. For example, where the speakers are, there's a magnet, of course, so I can move it. I can feel it. Sometimes a hard drive spinning, I can feel how it. I can feel that. Also, a neat thing about laptops. Some laptops, they have a magnet in the lid of the screen, like Apple MacBooks have. So when you close the lid of the screen, then it will the laptop will go on standby, which is also nice for privacy. If I don't want anyone shoulder surfing, I can just move the magnet near the sensor, and the screen will go dark.
Cool.
And with electromagnetic fields, it feels like tingling in the fingertip. Any more questions?
Do you have the password in your implant, or you have a key that unlocks the password for your computer?
Oh, for the laptop, at the moment, the password is not in plain text on my implant, but the password is on the Arduino. So when it scans the right UID number, then it will send the password as keystrokes to my laptop. So I never lose this device out of sight. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
And when I get home, I'll just reprogram the implant with another UID number and reprogram the Arduino. Because after all, I've been to hacker conferences.
Do you reprogram your RFIDs with your OV card?
No. A couple of years ago, when the OV card was introduced, it contained a MiFi Classic. And I read on Wikipedia, nowadays they switched to Infineon SLE 777. So, but a friend of mine, Tom van Oudenaarden from Piercing Studio Utrecht, who implanted this flex anti-tag and implanted this MiFi Classic with the changeable UID number. And he also implanted this MiFi Classic without the Chinese magic backdoor feature. What he did last year was he took the chip out of an anonymous OV chip card, public transit card. He added a coil, added coating, and implanted it in the back of his hand. After 3 months, he removed it because he never uses public transit. He always drives his car. But as a proof of concept, it works. So in theory, I could also do this with a bank deposit card. I mean, I can order a second bank card for contactless payments and remove the chip, add a coil, add coating, and then implant it in my body. But there are some limitations with contactless payments. Of course, there's the limitation with transactions above 25 euros. You have to enter the PIN code, which is awesome, two-factor. Yeah, that's the way to go. But another limitation is if you have multiple small transactions and you reach the limit of 50 euros, then you have to insert the bank card in the terminal, which of course is not possible if I have it as an implant. So I'm in contact with ABN AMRO about this. Maybe we can work together and fix this. Also, let me demonstrate with the VivoKey. So first I unlock my phone, and with the VivoKey Authenticator app, I hold it on this implant, and it will generate OTP codes. And when the blue bar is empty, so after 30 seconds, these OTP codes are not valid anymore, which is more secure than getting OTP codes by SMS text messages, because SMS text messages are not encrypted. And devices can be lost or stolen. So the implants are generated, the OTP codes are generated by the implant, and I'm not worried about losing my phone. It's a smart card. So currently I have 3 Java applets installed on it. One applet for generating the OTP codes I just demonstrated. Another applet for PGP. So imagine if I want to send my friend Malgrastra an PGP encrypted email. I'll tap here and select the key. Type some text. Hello. Then I'll tap encrypt, sign, and share text. And then it will ask for a PIN number. So not everybody can just walk up and abuse my implant. And then it will ask to tap the card. When it's done that, I'll share the encrypted text with the email client, fill in the subject, and here in this PGP encrypted text it says hello. So now only the receiver and the sender can read the text, read the content of the email.
So we'll have to wrap this, but thank you so much, Patrick.
You're welcome.